This is Warhawk Beyond 2040 bringing you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And today I wanted to discuss with all of you about why Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25 remains my favourite match of all time, 16 years later. And I kind of wanted to share with all of you about why this match in particular is so special to me. So, over the years, whether I'm talking to friends or people on social media or interacting with various YouTubers on a number of different videos on YouTube, the question that always gets asked a lot is, what's your favorite match of all time? Now, some people have said their favorite match of all time is The Rock versus Stone Cold from WrestleMania 17, which, by the way, was absolutely fantastic. Apart from one moment and the ending, which is another conversation for another time. Some people have said their favorite match of all time is Bret Hart versus Stone Cold from WrestleMania 13, which was a huge game changing match. Can't take anything away from that. It helped alter the course of history for WWE. Some people have said their favorite match is Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 12. A fantastic match, but maybe a bit too long, if I'm truly honest. But again, that's another conversation for another time. Some people have said Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit from the Royal Rumble 2003 is their favourite match. So lots of people have their favourite matches for different reasons. But when I get asked, what's your favourite match of all time? And without hesitation and without fail, I tell everyone my favourite match of all time is Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25. Now, WrestleMania 25 on the whole was kind of a hit and miss show for me. I mean, it was okay, but I wouldn't say it was the best WrestleMania ever. But the one match that really stood out to me the most was The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Now, this match for me is very special to me for a lot of reasons. First of all, it features two of my all time favourite wrestlers, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I grew up with both of these guys. I watched their first rivalry from 1997 to 1998, which, just for everyone who is wanting to know, I will be discussing the success and failures of The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels feud from 1997 to 1998 and 2009 to 2010. So make sure you keep an eye out for both of them. But it wasn't just about the fact that two of my favorite wrestlers of all time were actually colliding for the first time at WrestleMania. And it wasn't just about the fact that the build up, the promos, everything about it was excellent. And it wasn't even about the fact that both of these guys were in their prime, at the top of their game, both big names on their respective shows. Shawn Michaels, the big name on Raw, and The Undertaker, the big name on SmackDown. It wasn't necessarily just about all of that. The reason why, and I'm going to be getting a little bit emotional and a little bit personal here, but I feel this is very important that I mention all of this. The reason why WrestleMania 25, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, is such a special match for me because it marked the final WrestleMania that me and my best friend watched together. And my best friend would sadly pass away at the age of 25 in 2013. And The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels were his all-time favorite wrestlers as well. His favorite was Shawn Michaels. My favorite was The Undertaker. But we both loved these guys equally. And it was a very special time for me and him because I remember him phoning me up in his little small voice, telling me, "You never guess what." Obviously, I knew because I'm such a nerd. I keep track of everything of what's going on with WWE, especially at that time. So I played dumb and, went along with it. So I said, "Why, what's up, little guy?" And he said, "Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. It's finally going to happen." And obviously, I was really happy anyway when I found out the news. But I could sense, in his little voice, he was so happy. And we were both happy, but he was so excited to share that news that both of our favorite wrestlers of all time were finally going to have a match at WrestleMania. Because, you know, as wrestling fans growing up, we always wanted to see this match, but it never happened. And obviously, Shawn Michaels left WWE due to a back injury, so we never got to see that match. And obviously, when Shawn Michaels came back in 2002, he was on Raw, and The Undertaker went to SmackDown just a couple months later, but they never had any interaction at all. So this match just stayed in our heads for years and years. Oh, when are we going to see this match? Will we ever see this match? Will it ever happen? Undertaker's on SmackDown, Shawn Michaels is on Raw. They're both doing their own thing. Are these guys ever going to cross paths? And it was a special time for both of us because, like I said, it was the final WrestleMania that me and my best friend watched together. Now, at the time, I didn't have Sky, so I was unable to watch the match live. So my best friend paid for Sky Box Office, over 20 something pounds. I think it was like 22.99 to watch WrestleMania. And he specifically told me, whatever you do, do not go to the internet cafe and check WrestleMania. Do not watch this match at all until you come to my house and we are going to watch it together. And I knew it was very special to me. It was special for me too, but I think it was a bit more special for him. So, okay, I will do that for you. And in his small little voice, he said, "Good." So I had to go a whole week without checking www.com. I avoided spoilers like the plague. Now, I did have the internet back then, but I wasn't on social media that much. So I desperately tried to avoid any form of spoilers that I could because I didn't want to let my small boy down, my special guy. So I get to his house, his carer is there, and he said, "I hope you haven't watched it." I said, "No, no, 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 no. I haven't checked anything. I said what I was going to do. I wasn't going to check anything. I specifically said I was not going to go on www.com and check the results. We're going to watch this together." And he said, "Good." So I had my drink, he had his milk, and we sat there and bless his little heart, he made sure to set the point of the show where he would just play and we can just watch it. And that is exactly what we did. We watched the whole video package. We watched the whole match, and it was excellent. We were behind both of these guys. Anytime there was a false finish or a near fall, we were just holding our breath like, oh my God, And I can remember one point in the match, and I'm sure all of you know this part, is Undertaker went for his signature suicide dive over the ropes, and he missed, and he landed on the cameraman, damn nearly breaking his neck, and he was out cold. And Shawn Michaels rolled into the ring, and he begged the referee start counting. And I can remember, obviously, you know, my best friend wanted Shawn Michaels to win, but I think a big part of him at the same time didn't want to see the streak end on a count out. I certainly didn't. And I remember I was going absolutely nuts, like, come on, get up. What are you doing? Come on, get up. And my best friend, he's like sitting there, come on, you can do it, you can do it. We was just like on the edge of our seats, like, oh my God, don't tell me the streak's going to end on a count out. And then at the last second, Undertaker finally got back in the ring, and we were like, oh, oh my God. And what we got next was just wrestling excellence. And the cool thing about The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25, there was no title on the line, no number one contendership was at stake. This was just about two true wrestling legends facing each other to find out who is the better man. Shawn Michaels wanted to prove that he was Mr. WrestleMania and hand The Undertaker his first ever loss at WrestleMania. Undertaker wanted to extend his undefeated streak to 17-0 and also defeat Shawn Michaels for the first time ever, because by this point, Undertaker had faced Shawn Michaels 3 times, and all 3 of those matches Shawn Michaels got the win. I don't know if you could technically count Ground Zero as a win, because I seem to recall that the match ended in a no contest, so nobody technically won that match. Shawn Michaels got the first win at In Your House Bad Blood inside the first ever Hell in a Cell match, and then he got a second win over The Undertaker in a casket match at the Royal Rumble 98. So Undertaker had yet to defeat Shawn Michaels. So this was a huge deal, because Shawn Michaels, pretty much throughout his whole career, remained undefeated in one-on-one matches against The Undertaker, and Undertaker had never beaten Shawn Michaels one-on-one. So this was a big deal. And, I can remember the first time the Undertaker hit that tombstone on Shawn Michaels. I thought, yep, that's it. I looked at my best friend and said, ha! And then Shawn Michaels kicked out. Undertaker's face was like, oh my God. And my best friend was like, ha ha, I told you. He's the Heartbreak Kid. And, it was just like, oh my God, what's it going to take to keep Mr. WrestleMania down? And Shawn Michaels hit Sweet Chin Music. I was like, oh God, please no. And my best friend's like, come on, come on. And Undertaker kicked out. And it was just a fantastic ride. And that's what wrestling is all about. It's just having that story, 2 talented guys putting it all on the line and putting on a great match. And that's what it should be about. Wrestling should be fun. It shouldn't be super serious. There should be drama, in the right way. And that's exactly what this match was. And I loved it. My best friend definitely did. And after 2 tombstones, Undertaker finally beat Shawn Michaels. Me and my best friend clapped for both of these guys, and we looked at each other and said, we finally got to see the match we always wanted to. The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, and we got to see it at WrestleMania. It was by far the best match of the entire show, and it proved to be the best match of the entire show because Triple H versus Randy Orton had to follow The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. They couldn't. Their match was crap anyway, and they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't follow that match. Nobody could, and that's why Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25 remains my favorite match of all time. One, because I got to watch it with my best friend, and it was the final time we got to watch a WrestleMania together. And two, it was two of our favorite wrestlers of all time, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Doesn't get any better than that. Now, of course, we did still watch a few more pay-per-views after, but as far as WrestleMania, this was the last one. And you know something? I'm so glad that, you know, we got to watch one more WrestleMania together. And I'm so glad it was with these two, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I'm so glad we got to have that, got to experience that magic, the epicness, the drama, all of that stuff. I'm really glad we did because, you know, I would have been absolutely crushed if I couldn't watch this with him. He made sure that we watched this together. I kept my end of the bargain. I didn't go on www.com. I didn't check any results. I avoided all spoilers like the plague. And I did exactly that because it was special to me, but it was more special for him. And I wanted to make sure that we both experienced it together, you know, one more time. Little did I know that would be the last time. You know, I thought maybe we could have watched WrestleMania 26, which was, you know, Shawn Michaels' retirement match, but unfortunately his health worsened, so he wasn't able to watch it. But I still watched it, you know, I dedicated it to him. But it would have been great to have that one last WrestleMania with Shawn Michaels' final match because I know how much Shawn Michaels meant to him, and I know he was his favorite wrestler of all time. So it would have been nice, but unfortunately, circumstances beyond both of our control, mostly his, it just physically wasn't possible. But at least we got to watch the first one. So I'm grateful for that. And, you know, 16 years later, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25 remains my favourite match of all time. I haven't watched it in a while, so I probably will get to watch it again. Maybe I might get to watch it on his birthday and dedicate it to him. I might probably do that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to do, really. I just kind of wanted to take this opportunity, you know, to talk about Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25 and why it's still my favorite match of all time. I don't normally come on here and talk about personal things like that. I much prefer to keep things private, but because his birthday is getting near and he would have been 38, you know, I just got thinking about him and I thought about, you know, one of those special times. And one of those special times was watching Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25. So this little video that I've put together is pretty much dedicated to him. So I just thought it would be nice to talk about this match and, you know, discuss some of my favorite moments with him about this match with all of you. I just thought it would be really nice. And as I said, I don't normally do these sort of things because I'm not very good at talking about these kind of things because it's quite personal to me, but I just thought it would be nice to do something for him. And you know, you may have seen me mention him in various videos about special times from wrestling. So I just thought this would be a great idea to put something together and dedicate it to him by talking about the match that really meant a lot to not just me, but to both of us. So I just thought this would be a nice thing to do. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talking about why Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25 remains my favourite match of all time. You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.